Hello viewers, my name is Adam.
No, I'm Aaron.
And this is Tiki Media Productions, bring you a television series review.
Okay guys, this is technically a series that is really close to my heart because I started watching this way back in the day when I was like around 4 or 5 and thanks to syndication of course, but of course I'm talking about Lost in Space.
And the review that we'll be doing in this video will be the 2018 Netflix reboot of the same name.
This is a gem. Everybody needs to at least take the time out to go watch this series.
And this series went through a lot of changes over the decades since it's been first debuted.
This is true.
We're talking about this, the first television series of Lost in Space came out back in 1965 and lasted 3 seasons. And this show reboot also lasted 3 seasons, but back in the 60s version, it obviously had a lot more episodes. As that one played off a lot more like a family sitcom than what this series we're going to be talking about today.
Sitcom and also I would say Monster of the Week or Danger Scenario
Of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the 2018 reboot series is not the second. It's not even the second other time where Lost in Space was made to another medium.
Yeah, that's of course true because there was a 1998 film that came out, and yet again, still has some ties to that one because when I was little and went to go watch that, after watching the series, I was a fan of it. I was one of those lucky few little kids that got pulled aside and actually got to be on the news for when they were trying to interview people about the movie, and I really loved it. Even though the movie wasn't necessarily all that great, it still was a time and a blast.
And that's a little bit of history about this show, at least as far as our family is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get on with the actual discussion of this version of Lost in Space. The story is very basically taking the basic premise of what Lost in Space is about, which is set in the far future where a family known as Robinsons has been tasked to venture into space and look for a new home.
Of course, they're not the only ones around this time. There were plenty of other families that actually got to take this cool test and scenarios of obstacles in order to win an opportunity to go to space and look for a new home. And of course, shenanigans go run afoot, and
A lot of sabotage takes place.
Pretty much.
And basically, the first episode is essentially takes the it's like nothing drastically has changed from the basic hook.
Pretty much.
When the series gets running. Now, the story is like loosely based on the comic book series Space Family Robinsons, which in of itself is a reimagining of the 1812 novel The Swiss Family Robinsons.
There are so many layers here. It is not funny, but it's all manages to wrap itself up into a nice, neat bow that's easily digestible and gets you sinked into the in the nitty gritty parts.
Now, we're discussing this version and how it differs from the 1960s series. Like we said previously, that series played more off like a basic family sitcom or situation of the week.
Mm-hmm.
This one takes the premise a lot more seriously this time around, as if it's an adventure drama, but it still has meant for a wider audience that most mature content sci-fi will be going for, especially in this new golden age of television.
Mm.
The series, with its new approach to how it decided to tell its story, a lot more danger is pulling the forefront when the stakes are a lot more higher. Yes, it does. It will still involve a lot of the planet hopping scenario until they get to that predestination where is the whole series. This series is heading towards, and a lot of it has to do is more about not necessarily all about the destination, but the journey to it.
And it does it in a way that services the characters as much as it do the concept of the plot, where each and every member of the family and other characters around them are given their fair due to actually shine or showcase why they're important to the premise of the show.
And with that, this new approach to being serious, it's like I'm surprised at how much they're able to get away with the TV PG rating that they
Oh yeah.
the type of scenario this version of that, like, there is some high stake, life threatening scenario, stuff that each members go through.
You got, like I said, of course you're in the dangerous outer space, so you have to deal with maintaining food supplies and the perils of tripping across black holes and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
a lot of environmental hazards.
Yeah, but then you got also dangerous robotic enemies too, and certain other obstacles and human violence too that really throws everything into wares, and it's just like it is a wonder how they were able to push the boundaries
for a family show. For still pretty much a family show.
Exactly, without going over the edge to rated R.
Now, that being said, because of the show does take a lot more effort to showcase a lot more of an action-oriented focus, as high as the stakes are, the show still surprisingly has a very low casualty rate.
Yeah, actually, this is probably one of the few negatives of the show I do have to throw into as a gripe, because with as much obstacles and perils that they were thrown up against, not too many people really suffered the consequences of that. I mean, these characters go through the ringer? Of course they do. And people do, and then some of the characters do end up having to learn harsh life lessons, but I don't feel as though enough characters really suffered, as in, getting axed off compared to the stakes that they were facing.
Yeah, a lot of cannon fodder when it comes
to off-screen cannon fodder, not necessarily, not nearly on screen enough.
I guess that will be the reason why there's a difference between TVPG 214 and TVMA.
Very true.
And with those dangers, there's still not a lot of diversity when it comes to the threats that they do involve. Mm-hmm. Now, like, you'll see later into the series that there is a main threat, but even then,
the main overarching threat that keeps coming in and out, and then it finally really focuses up mostly into the second half of part 2 and almost all of part 3.
For the most part, the main cast is what really makes this version a truly special treat.
Yeah, this is actually one of the rare times where where the sequel series is, or at least this
the reboot,
where the reboot itself is completely blows the predecessors out of the water.
You have a complete reimagining almost from the entire main cast, and like the 1960 series, basically it still makes up the core members. You have the the mom, dad, 3 children, and you have 2 outsider members who are make up that the whole core cast.
Of course, we're talking about John, who was the ex-military father, his wife Moraine, who was a leading scientist on the mission to finding a new world.
A different version from her botanist, her mother, which basically had nothing to do from the 1960s series.
Both the female, a lot of the female characters had and given a rare match, they actually done well more in this series. But then because you go into the children, where you have the oldest child and the daughter,
Judy Robinson,
who is a medic / doctor, and takes on the leadership roles and way more awesome aspects in and of itself.
She almost is portrayed as the second lead of this show
because
I would of how much they reworked this character.
And then there's also a case where they changed the ethnicity too. And it unlike in other shows or adaptations of series where it's just a change for tokenism's sake, this actually felt very organic in the way they did it, and it works.
And also the middle child,
Penny. And you know what? I found myself oddly drawn to this character more so than any of the Robinson family, for the mere fact that she was very much the realist of the entire group, where she was basically the individual who called a spade when it was actually needed. And very much so also in the same field, needing the most glass reflections to understand their own self-worth and what they brought to the table, as far as what the family needed and the entire group itself required.
Yeah, it's basically the glue to why this family works.
And
of course, when we said that Judy acted almost like a second lead to the show, let's not kid ourselves when it comes to the Lost in Space and the various versions of the show.
It will always be the Will Robinson show.
The younger brother. Usually the character is paired off with the other character who was also who was like the buddy cop buddy scenario of even the 1960 version, which is the Dr. Smith.
I absolutely love this variation of Dr. Smith because they embody everything the original variation of. Well, actually, I can safely say that no matter what the representation or the outing, Dr. Smith is almost always one of the best characters because I enjoyed the very first variation of Dr. Smith. Even the movie had a decent Dr. Smith. Of course, there's nothing you can't do wrong when you have such an amazing actor playing them. And then this variation go around, they chose yet again right off the bat, amazing.
Now, this Dr. Smith is a gender bent version and also a much younger version to what is past iterations, played by Parker Posey. A character who embodies the conniving, self-worth, and almost like always at the ready to backstab somebody level.
Look, Smith has always been out for #1 since the whole Jump Street. I mean, that's just who they are.
A survivalist to the fullest, and is always as a survivalist, it's always good to pair off with the literal person who has plot armor, which is the main character, which is Will Robinson.
And it helps that they're know-it-all too.
Yeah, yes, Will Robinson. Like the series, he's the the curious adventure go-getting young boy, son of John the Marine, who. This series decided to be have a lot of the savior complex that some adventure main characters tend to have.
Now, of course, even though he has a savior complex, but it's never too much to the point where it becomes a hindrance or necessarily a annoying aspect of that character, because so many individuals, when you're writing those particular types of characters, it can be very troublesome, especially when they have that particular savior complex. But this is one where it actually makes a lot more sense. The way that they organically tell his story as to why he feels that way and the reasons why he's usually the individual that has to be able to save the day, it makes sense.
Yeah, and it helps when his character is grounded with the good old fashioned boy meets non-human companion. Usually it's the boy meet like a boy and his dog, but Lost in Space is all about that boy and his robot.
I love the robot. The robot's cool. Yes. I want one.
And essentially, his relationship with the robot, it makes up the heart of the series, which is basically all about family.
But you know what? There's one other character that we have failed and neglected to mention, and they deserve just as much respect and appreciation. And of course, I'm talking about Don West.
Don West, which was a character who, in the original series, usually got paired up with the the father of John Robinson.
Oh, the father, and also the eldest daughter, Judy.
That is completely changed because there's even in that series, they had a strong age difference.
Yeah.
They decided like the forego that like kind of romantic subplot that they had, and this version, Don and Judy have more of a camaraderie.
This very
platonic friendship.
When he was originally in the other versions, just like the father was kind of like a military / security escort. This variation go around, he's more of a smuggler / mechanic that has just as much to offer to the solutions of the Robinson family and the rest of the group as anybody else do.
Essentially, he's that loner. His story is mainly the loner who finds a family than one that he was born into.
Of course, this entire whole plot of the show is actually understanding the importance of family and realizing that family can come from anywhere. And I really feel as though that is what really encapsulates what this whole series is about.
But one of the biggest selling points of this series, at least from what really drew me to this version, is of course the production.
When I tell you that I felt as though, like, again, we were doing a disservice by just watching it on on TV. It's no joke. Almost every episode felt as though it was worthy enough to be seen on the big screen, on the silver screen, in the theaters somewhere, and just enjoying it that way. And to be honest with you, if they ever decide to, continue on the series and actually have like movie tie-ins, I'm right there with you because it was just that good.
We have production that has VFX that is on par with what you expect on big budget movies of sci-fi genres of this sort.
I gotta tell you, like I said, I was watching this series. I am increasingly become more concerned with the viability of theaters going forward, because if a platform such as Netflix can come out swinging out the gate with production values like this in a television series, then it's going to become even more of a struggle understanding what movies do you or what would qualify you going to the theaters to go watch.
Yes, the environmental designs is something that's
I really like the
great.
Jupiters. The Jupiters concept of these ships was just really cool.
Yeah, so you have especially you have the main hub design, the Resolute, the main spaceship where all the Jupiters come from. A very intricate design there, especially the robot. The main robot, which is done actually practically with a person man in a suit, just like the original, but
and it looks just amazing.
But VFX has helped add it to be more of somewhat of a shape-shifting type of scenario. Which works with all the other types of threats that this series tend to go by.
But all in all, I mean, with the way that you rate the characters, the story, and the production value itself, I mean, this is truly an amazing series, and it deserves your attention.
But it also doesn't hurt when this version of the show utilizes the original theme song very well. But there we have it. That was our review for Lost in Space from Netflix.
Guys, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Did you watch Lost in Space from start to finish? Were you a fan going into it? Or are you just swept in as a newcomer? We want to hear from you. How did you feel about the show? Let us know. And please hit that bell down there at the bottom for notifications when we get more content to you.
And also, be sure to look at our social media platforms from Twitter and Instagram for our social media reviews from any type of television seasons and films that we did not cover on as a video on this channel, as we have updated a lot from The Matrix to the recent Arcane series, Wheel of Time, even some other big properties that we couldn't even see. We saw, but we just couldn't have the time to do it.
As always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Adam.
And this has been Seeking Media Productions.
See you.